Go live on the shorts. I'm going to see if that makes it show up. A real Trinitarian would run 3 streams. I am running 3 streams at once. Shorts, TikTok, and YouTube. I don't know what's going on, guys.
It's live.
It's live?
Yeah.
It's not showing up. Like at all. This is where I actually think I have demons, guys. Because then a whole bunch of stuff started happening that had nothing to do with anything I even altered or changed. Like remotely, as soon as like I had to restart the whole computer, I had to reset the whole chat. I don't have access to the shorts chat, and I don't know why. I have no clue why. I cannot get access to the shorts chat right now. For a while, I couldn't get access to either chat. Right now, all we've been able to do is get access to the normal YouTube chat. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I can read. I have no access to any other chats. So at least I'll be happier, I guess. Because I won't see how many. This is actually the most technically problematic live I've ever seen. Very suspicious. It's very weird.
Very suspicious.
It's very weird. I'm gonna restart my computer in safe mode tonight, and I'm gonna do like a malware check. I'm gonna do that. It's got to be some sort of virus or something messing with my stuff, or somebody like I don't know.
Can you come here for a second?
Now what? That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I expected to see that.
Okay.
But I tried to change it, and that's what caused all the problems and went to 720p. So I'm just going to leave that for now.
Okay.
We should be in 1440, I hope, at least. I hope we at least got that going on. Can you give me another cup of coffee or creatine, please? Yeah. Thank you. At least, hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, 1440. Okay, and we're in ultra low latency. So 1440 ultra low latency, thumbs up. We'll do that. We'll do that. That's fine by me. That's fine by me. I'm the guy who coined orthoduck lips for Libiano. I'm creating a new one for In 30 Seconds by Canyon Mims. His name is now Mimbot. Pass it around. Listen, hey, you guys do you. I'm not judging you. Not my thing. Not my thing. I'm not a big fan of doing weird names for people. I just rather not engage with people like that. If I'm going to make fun of people, I only make fun of people I like. I don't make fun of people I don't like, and I do not like Canyon Mims, and I do not like Orthodox Muslim as like individuals, as people, as human beings that walk this earth. So I'm not even going to engage with them in that kind of rhetoric. Ha! It's showing up now. You mother trucker. All right, we're not going to do any waiting or any like getting to a certain number because we're only going to have a 2-hour live today. So we'll just jump straight into guests. We'll jump straight into guests.
Hi.
Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm okay, and I'm 34.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, go
for it. Yeah, so for instance, I can prove that something's nonsense today. Right. So if I can prove that, it applies equally back in the time. So for instance, like for instance, if people can walk on water in 2011,
turn off your camera.
Oh, bro.
Thank you.
How can I prove it to you, bro, if you're not gonna look at the stuff? I want to show you someone's walking on water in 2011, right? Okay. So he convinces people in London in 2011 that he walked on water.
Awesome.
So if someone can prove that he can walk on water to people that have phones and are in central London, they, you know.
So is your
the concept of planes?
Yeah.
The concept of planes and driving and cars and phones.
Hold on. Just to be clear, your argument is people could do magic tricks?
Right.
Okay.
So what proof do you have of any miracle?
Yeah, the fact that he died and resurrected. How did he do that magic trick?
Right. Did you watch a film called The Prestige?
The Prestige?
Yeah.
The one with like the twins?
Christian Bale, that's right. Yeah, he's a magician.
so
Yeah, it's a very good film by
great.
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
so that's very plausible,
okay,
isn't it?
Okay. So your argument then is that Jesus had a twin.
Most likely than being resurrecting. Yeah. What's more easy to replicate in nature, do you think?
Hold on. I just want to clarify, man. So, okay, Jesus had a twin. My question for you then is, how did his disciples, right? How did they interact with his disciples after, right? The fact that his brother died.
Right, can we just work it out? So what happened in the Prestige film? Can you explain to me the situation in the film?
Yeah, they were tricking people by one doing things and the other one being somewhere else.
Right, exactly like that. Yeah.
Can you answer my question though, please?
Yeah, so even probably carved his hand and then got the scar and everything else like afterwards.
Can you answer my question?
As well. Yeah.
What was my question?
The same way in the Prestige that, they even tricked a woman. Imagine like a woman.
What was my question?
How did he interact with the disciples afterwards?
Yeah.
Right?
So
the twin stole the body of his other twin.
You gotta let me speak. Right? So he interacts with the disciples afterwards. Now, for 3 years, this Jesus figure walks around, ministers with them, talks with them, does all these things. And then all of a sudden, this guy who doesn't know them, but looks like Jesus, shows up and interacts with them. How does he convince them he's original Jesus?
He didn't watch the
hold
film.
on, let me finish.
No, you're full of shit. You didn't watch the film.
I didn't say I watched the film.
Right, so he had a woman.
Let me finish. Let me finish. There's an important part. Let me finish. There's a very important part to the analogy I'm giving. If you let me finish. How did the twin convince the people he had holes in his freaking hands?
Right, so in the film, someone cut a finger of one of them, right? So he had to go and cut the finger of the other. So they cut the finger in the same place, right? And both of them had the same injury, right?
Okay.
They each should take sons with the same wife. They had two different wives. They had a mistress and a wife.
Okay.
And they kept one night, one slept. The other night, the other one slept. Yeah, the women they slept with couldn't tell the difference.
Okay, so this is your theory. I just want to be clear.
Well, that is possible.
Dog, let me speak. This is your theory. I heard everything you had to say. Let me speak. Your theory is Jesus had a twin. His twin brother, after his brother was crucified and died, put holes in his feet, stabbed himself in the rib, and stabbed himself in the hands, and then walked around as if nothing happened?
Sure. That's more likely than resurrecting. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Can you give me one incidence? Because you're proposing naturalism. One instance where somebody can put a thick nail in their ankles and walk around like nothing happened. Just once.
Bro, let's work something out, right?
Can you do it?
If he already knew that was going to happen, maybe the guy stabbed himself months before, right? Kept the injuries, and then he knew what was going to happen. So there was like a plot.
Over.
Yeah, there would. So I'm just giving you natural possibilities for something happening.
Okay.
In any case, the disciple didn't even recognize Jesus when he turned up. He had to show his hand because he didn't even believe that he was Jesus. So surely,
so hold on.
There was something a bit weird anyway.
There's no way this guy's real. All right. So your theory is this: he knew he was going to get crucified. So Jesus, him and his twin brother, do this grandiose plot where they're like, we're going to trick all these people for reasons, whatever it might be.
Sure.
So I know after you go against the Roman Empire and against the Sanhedrin, they're going to crucify you. So here's what we're going to do. Yeah. I know you're going to die, right? And you're okay with dying. So you're going to go up and you're going to die on the cross. You're okay with dying. So today, about 6 months or a year before, let's put holes in my wrists and hands. And also stab me in the rib, even though that's not a common process being crucified, just in case they stab you in the rib. And I'm gonna wait until I can walk around. And then when you die, I'm gonna walk around and pretend I'm you and resurrected for reasons. That's your theory.
Does the Bible say that he showed the ribs as well? Can you show me in the Bible where it says he showed the ribs? Because I think he showed the hands.
Is this your theory?
Imagine being so
Bro, I don't even believe the guy existed, right? I'm agnostic to it. There are 200 scholars, biblical scholars, that don't believe Jesus existed. So if you have 200 biblical scholars that studied and don't believe he existed, who am I to say that they are wrong? I'm agnostic. I don't know. But I'm just proving to you that's probable that someone could have easily done something like this much more easily than a resurrection, right? So that's what I'm proving to you. That's all.
Okay, so
That
then
your
that is
story-
not your theory. Your theory is Jesus doesn't exist. So why don't you substantiate that
I'm
theory?
agnostic to it. I'm agnostic. That
So
means
then
I'm
what
not
is your
making
theory
claims.
that you're proposing?
I don't believe any theories. I'm agnostic to
Then
all
what
of
are
them.
you proposing?
I'm agnostic to the one I just gave you.
Then what are you proposing?
That yours is wrong. That you
Based
don't
off
have
what?
any solid
Based
proof
off
of
this
anything.
random theory that his brother stabbed himself and walked around like nothing happened? Why
Bro,
should I
I have
believe
a
that?
theory that if I punch you in the nose, I can move. I can straighten it. It's a theory, though. I think like I can break it to the other side, and it will look nice. Because it really bothers me that bent nose that you have, bro.
There it is. They don't
Ain't
have an
bothers me so-
argument. They can't
no way he's
substantiate what they're
agnostic.
saying, and then all of a sudden they switch to the way I look or some sort of insult. As much as I was annoyed with him, I didn't insult him.
Ain't no way he's agnostic.
No, that was 100%
A
a
Muslim
Muslim.
for real.
Waste of electrons.
You owe that
Great
guy a
start
taco.
today.
You got destroyed by a prestige argument. You haven't
how-
even seen the fucking movie and he ran you through the whole thing. You owe that dude a
The Muslims are out today because these are arguments only Muslims will find entertaining or good. These are arguments Muslims would only find entertaining or good because there's nobody with any sort of like IQ or intelligence who think that was a good argument. Classic Mott and Bailey fallacy. No, that wasn't a Mott and Bailey fallacy. No, that wasn't. It's gonna be a day today. Is that what's gonna happen? We're gonna have a whole bunch of technical issues, and then we're gonna have to talk to idiot Muslims. It's all good, brother. Keep serving the kingdom. Doing my best up here. Than, peace be upon him, told me to come here, and I am. Bark, bark. Can you guys explain the bark, bark thing to me?
I was wondering that too.
I missed the part where Jesus 2,000 years ago had a plexiglass windows and video camera editing, and now Jesus had a twin. I've officially heard it all. Imagine it being so delusional, you got to get your completely unsubstantiated argument from a sci-fi movie. Anything but Jesus. Bro hates God. I think that was a Muslim. Mm-hmm. And problem solved. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. Lord, bring us some better people. Mm-hmm. You love tacos? Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Abby, is the short chats open?
Yeah.
I'm not getting any. Is there anybody commenting in the short chat?
Not really. It's pretty dead.
Can you leave a comment there just so I can test it? Just to test it. Again, guys, it's going to be a short live today. Okay, yeah, I got one. We're good. We're good. Do I ever watch the Anthony Phillips sermon? No, I don't know who that is. No clue who that is. At this point, we do it to annoy Mike. Than started it. The bark bark thing?
Striker says, bark, bark, dog. Person does what is asked. Is good boy. So I guess if they did what they're told, they say bark, bark.
Do I want to chat on the Trinity? Not really. No, that's actually my least favorite topic. You know what I never did? I don't think I even tested your camera to see if see if it's focused today. Looking good though. My goodness gracious. I'm a blessed man.
Thank you, baby.
Than started live said, "Bark if you are my puppies." Well, that was Mike's fault for hiring Than. What did he expect? What did he expect? We love Than because of BJs. Is he giving out BJs?
Don't say that. Oh my.
The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath, but Than, peace be upon him, is Lord of the Puppies. Bark, bark, self-explanatory. Okay, if you guys say so, man. If you guys say so.
Also, I noticed that you were over in the shorts chat. You might want to come over to like the nicer place.
Who?
That person.
Yeah, short chat is where happiness goes to die. Where happiness goes to die. John, this is a Christian stream, lol. I'm just saying, if he was, that'd be a reason that a lot of people would like him. Not saying it's good, not saying it's not sinful. It's 100% in those categories, but a lot of people would like him. That's a fact. That's a fact. Tell me I'm wrong. Just watch your Muhammad hijab clip. You destroyed the right hand. Massive W explains why they're all out today. They're mad. Maybe that's why they all came out today and got mad. Muslims are big mad because they're being called out on the BS and they don't like it. Hey, Abby, how did we make $9,656? Explain that to me. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 18 and I'm goated. What are you?
All right. Have a great day.
I told you to increase the age limit.
Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 41 and I'm fine, thank you. I'm trying to read the prompt, but you keep putting your egg in the way. So
All right, have a great day. If you guys aren't going to come up and start off on a good standard or good faith basis, I'm not going to engage with you. Why would you think I would do that? I know it's not going to be a fruitful conversation.
It's not hard to read.
It's not hard, man. You can figure it out.
You maybe use a little context clues. Yeah. Finish the words.
If you guys, if you think I'm wrong about my standard on Muslims, why don't you come up and prove me wrong, engage in good faith, and bring out argumentation? That'd be actually a great way to change my opinion. Not insulting my face, insulting my wife, insulting my head, talking condescendingly. Not any of those things, right? That's not going to convince me that I'm wrong. That's actually going to just reinforce my perspective. Would love to have asked the Agno guy to deny Muhammad is the prophet. Hindsight is 2020. Nah, just move on. Just move on with these guys. They're not worth your time. Pearls before swine. Pearls before swine. My friend, when I say no, the answer is no. Stop asking. I'm not a girl at the bar that you're trying to kidnap. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 42.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Actually, I just wanted to tell you that I'm a Christian myself, and narcissism isn't cute.
The inability to read isn't cute. What does that little thing say right there? No Christians, but you don't have the ability to read, do you? No, you didn't miss any. It's been a long list of just idiots. People who have the IQ of my butthole. God bless you and everything you do. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Well, we're having a day, though. We're having a day. We're having a day, guys. Big John Steele is a Top Gun. I wouldn't say that. No, by no means. Yeah, people don't know what narcissism means. They have zero clue what that actually entails. Well, we're trying to take guests. We're just trying to get somebody who actually wants to have a real conversation. Dog, the answer is no. If you send another request, you're just going to get blocked. You can come back another day, but I got a hard, fast rule that once I've decided I don't want to talk to you, you don't get to come back up. Right? It's done. You can come back another day and we could try again, after you've had a nap and a snack and you've reevaluated the way you operate in life, then we could talk. We'll give it a shot Friday. We go live on Friday. Until then, stop asking or you'll get blocked and you'll never have a conversation. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Hey, I'm 35. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Okay, so when you say worship Jesus, what do you mean by that? I just joined, so I'm not too familiar with, your take on it.
Yeah, you just treat Jesus as the highest form of possible good and try to align yourself with that.
Jesus as the highest possible, I'm sorry, what was that?
Possible form of good, and you try to align yourself with that. So we all worship certain things. It's like aspects that we hold to a high regard and we wish that we were and we align ourselves with. And I just do this with Jesus.
Okay, and is that, you're getting that from the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
And is that a Trinitarian Jesus?
Mm-hmm. I that wasn't me. I don't know where he went and why. They're gonna say it anyways. I might as well play the song.
Someone opened up their mouth today. He's running, you see. Just
See,
had a
called it.
little something to say. He's running, you see.
For what? For asking if we believe in the Trinity?
He's running, you see.
Ridiculous.
Just a word, just a word, just a word. He's running, you see. He's running, you see. He's running, you see. From the most harmless things that could ever be. He's running, you see. He's running, you see.
Somebody gets it.
But John disagrees. He's running, you see.
It's so you guys could dance with me.
Someone said, actually, I think he's running, you see. Gone before they could even blink. He's running.
At this point, though, we might need the troll song.
We might need the troll song, yeah. Yeah. You could talk to somebody for 6 hours straight and you could be like, okay, we're not going anywhere, and you could be like, all right, I'm done. And they'd be like, you're running, coward. But Muhammad Ajab kicked me. And no one said he was running. Muhammad Orthodox Muslim refuses to debate John. Little John, no one says he's running. You couldn't pay me to be a Muslim. Couldn't pay me. We need a big John bingo card. Yeah. You guys can do it. Nothing's stopping
thing
you.
is
Just
that
someone make it in the Discord and post it.
You need multiple bingo cards.
Yeah.
Because if you only have one, you'll all get bingo.
Yeah, but that's still the fun. Like everybody gets
not.
bingo together. Bingo.
Maybe if we get bingo, we could have like a little pop up or something.
Yeah, we could do a little bingo pop up.
Yeah.
A little bingo pop up. Today's gonna be a trash live for everybody. I apologize. I promise you guys better, and I can't deliver. It's not my fault. Can I pay for the troll song? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Who let the trolls out?
This one's okay.
Who let the trolls out? 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 A grown man tied that with his whole chest. Somebody's father is currently doing this. He practiced that.
Rick, hello. How are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Pretty good. 27.
All right, someone's
I think
already killed the song.
We talked like 2 days ago or something.
All right, man. I don't remember, but if you can convince me to stop worshiping Jesus, I will buy you a taco.
We talked about how you thought it was more parsimonious that Jesus explains the resurrection, and we went through a decent amount of that.
Yeah.
Then we came to pretty much just like wrapped it up, and I've got some more stuff to look into with respect to that. But We could talk about evolution if you want, or we could talk about a few things I looked into with our last argument.
Okay. We could do evolution, but I'm going to warn you, you're probably going to get frustrated. You're a nice guy. Not that it's your temperament. It's just that everybody I have a conversation with evolution with, they get frustrated because of the approach I take.
Yeah,
so we can go that route if you want.
Yeah, we can go that way, and I'm generally like, honestly, probably too patient with some people. So don't worry.
Okay, all right, man. Hit me. Convince me of evolution.
So there's a decent amount to get into. I would say primarily there's two things I've seen some people come on here and essentially just like autismo ramble about like facts about evolution and stuff. And like they don't understand the philosophy of science and the philosophical angle that a lot of people have disagreements with rather than the specific facts of the situation.
Okay.
So I think that that's probably a bit from what I've seen where you're coming from is more of like a...
Oh, what happened? No, he's a great guy. He's
Rick,
a nice guy. Come back, Rick. Where are you?
Back.
They're gonna say it anyways.
Someone opened up their mouth today. He's running, you see.
Where'd you go, Rick? He's gone. They're gonna say it anyway.
Give him some minutes.
Yeah, if he comes back up, 100%.
Give him a couple
The nice thing is like if you disconnect and you come back, it reconnects you right away.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There he is.
And then I just have to unmute you.
Okay.
You back, Rick?
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sweet. So, yeah, and then I think that you probably come from it with more philosophical side, being motivated by like skepticism about it.
Well, here I'll tell you. I'll just clarify my position. I'm agnostic towards it. I have not looked at all the data or the evidence, and because I haven't done it, it'd be intellectually irresponsible of me to take a position.
So I would disagree with that because I think it's reasonable to trust the relevant experts in this field with respect to like their case on evolution. Do you disagree with that? Like, I think it's a valid epistemological approach.
I actually think that's not generally a wise method all the time. So obviously you have to rely on experts to a certain extent and in all sorts of degrees, but to accept an entire theory that changes the whole world and how it operates simply because the experts told you, I think is just kind of like a little bit irresponsible without at least examining why they're coming to the conclusions that they're coming to. So it's not that I don't trust the expert, and it's like if an expert says it, I'm just like no. But I'd have to examine what the expert is saying and how they're coming to the conclusions that they're coming to. Simply just saying, well, it's true, doesn't do it enough for me. And a big reason I think this is because of my study of like scholarship in Christianity. Is a lot of guys who do like biblical scholarship need to take a logic course because they jump to these huge conclusions that make zero sense based off the data that they find. And I don't see why that wouldn't be like consistent across the board.
I would agree with this, although I think there's a very important distinction between the fields of like historical textual analysis and theological, pursuits versus something in the lines of like the hard sciences, like any STEM field that you might have.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like they can come if they don't know like what logic entails and they don't have that understanding. And for example, if they don't have a familiarity with the philosophy of science, but they understand the science just in general, they can make these huge leaps in conclusions that they shouldn't be making, even if they have data that points that direction.
So I would agree with you. Like I've, taken quite a few undergraduate courses, but I did have one course, I'm in some STEM field, but I did take one course on, just like studies and research in general and the methodology behind that. And they essentially dipped their toes into like, the philosophy of science, maybe a little bit more than a toe, but they dipped a little bit into it. And that was for undergraduate, but everyone making like large advancements in this field, particularly in modern times, like modern science is more so, I would say, created sometime in the late 1800s, early 1900s, with the advancements of certain statistical analysis and different techniques that they use, understandings of neurology, biases, and that kind of
Enlightenment
stuff.
era, right?
A little bit after that, I believe. More so along with like, I'm more familiar with like like certain areas of physics, like I don't know, like Niels Bohr, Albert Einstein,
Mhm.
and there's certain things around here where they really nailed down the scientific method and how to do it. So where was I going with this? Through essentially like through all this, I think that like graduate students do have an understanding of philosophy of science that undergraduate students wouldn't. Where whenever they go into a research, they understand certain principles in the science of philosophy, like falsifiability. Some graduate programs push certain of these principles more so than others. I don't know if you've ever watched Gutsa Gibbons' channel. She's a PhD candidate in human evolution, and like her specific graduate program, she said really pushes like you need to purposely try to prove your hypotheses wrong in favor of the null, and if you can't do that, then that's when you should think that your conclusions are reasonable.
Sure.
So
but
like,
I think we're might be like on the same page. The only thing that we have separation from is I don't just take scholarship because they say so. That doesn't mean I disregard scholarship. It just means I have to see what their argumentation is. How do they go from A to Z? That's all I'm saying. And I'd have to trust them that they're being reliable when they say, this is how I came to A. This is how I find the data for B. This is what C entails, right? I haven't done that. And so I think it's irresponsible for me to take that position of just like, evolution is true because the whole world tells me it's true. There's a whole point. They said the Earth was the center of the universe because all the experts said so.
Well, that wasn't modern science. They didn't have rigorous statistical analysis for that. So, the technologies that we have.
Is it within the realm of possibility that the scientific method may become outdated?
To what degree?
Well, to the point where we just find a new mechanism that means that approaching it the scientific way is not something that we just generally do anymore, that we do some sort of new mechanism that we've yet to discover. Is that possible?
I would say it's highly unlikely not, although there's new technologies and new techniques that would be additive to the scientific method that we have right now.
So then what do you mean by the scientific method?
So it's essentially using, I have a little bit more, philosophically inclined. And so I would say that it's based on the textbooks that I read in undergraduate, I'd say that it's rationalism plus empiricism. And that's the most simple explanation that I can put to it.
Well, then I just simply argued the scientific method has always existed.
To some extent you could, but the more modern versions of it include things like information we've gathered and built upon, including rigorous statistical analysis, more advanced mathematics, the technologies that enable us to make more accurate.
I'm going to cut you off here because I agree with you. There's been different tools that have been added to the box of what we considered science. But 1,000, 2,000 years ago, when we thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, they had data that supported their hypothesis. They did science. They looked at the stars and they examined that things were moving around, and they examined their own planet and didn't feel like it was moving. They had, based off the limited tools they had, they used science to conclude that the Earth was the center of the universe. As they updated and got new tools, they updated their understanding. And we still do this now. We did this with the James Webb Telescope when we put it into space, and we found new information. Now we have to update our understanding of how we approach sciences. And so what I'm saying is that this is just going to be a constant update forever. So I think it's a good practice to question the consensus viewpoints and not just take it because they say, yep, we all agree, because there are people throughout all of history who have done that, question the consensus viewpoint and changed it completely.
I would think that it's good to question it. But the questioning is only reasonable if you hold scientific credentials within that relevant field. If you don't, it's essentially like going up to like a black belt. You did mixed martial arts, correct? And I assume you've taken, jujitsu and stuff like that. It's essentially like somebody who's a blue belt, even a competition blue belt, who's just kick anyone's ass, pretty much anyone's ass on the street. And just manhandles blue belts. You're physically fit in or manhandles white belts. You're physically fit in your blue belt. 95% of the people you talk to, you're just going to manhandle in this. But when you get to like the black belt level and you have some blue belt and he's going in and correcting and be like, no, actually you need to have your guillotine like this. And, you need to put your hand in this. That's essentially what you're doing.
I think this analogy is going to bite you in the butt.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because both me and my wife were both brown belts in jiu-jitsu. We're both black belts in kickboxing, and we've met people and rolled with people, and we're like, they shouldn't be a brown belt. They shouldn't be a black belt. They have it. It's official. It's IBJJF certified, and we're like, they should not be at that level. They don't know what they're doing.
I agree with you, but it's this is why it's not necessary. It's like an odds based thing where it's like if you go and you especially if it's like I think the difference here is competition black belts versus like somebody that teaches at school, right?
No. I mean, like I've ran into people who compete all the time who have like a brown belt going on into the black belt, and we're like, they should not be a brown belt.
Do they have any medals in the competitions, and are they good competitions they're going to?
Competitions are here and there. If we're talking like going to like IBJJF competitions or like what's the other one? I forget it.
ADCC.
Yeah, that's the one. ADCC. No, but we're talking like local competitions. Like if I went to ADCC, I probably get my ass kicked by a purple belt, but I'm a brown belt.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about application of knowledge, just having the information. Like they shouldn't be there.
I agree with you, and I agree that my analogy is initially disanalogous because of what you brought up, and that's why I'm saying you're correct, and I need to reframe this analogy and say that the people that go to ADCC, those are the researchers that are publishing, involved in research, and have a lot of authorships, co-authorships. There's actually a metric. It's escaping my mind right now.
Yeah, but I'm not going to trust like Gordon Ryan just because he said I went to ADCC. I'm going to trust Gordon Ryan because everything that he has done, he's applied it in real life scenarios and showed a good outcome. So the data is what speaks for itself, not Gordon Ryan as expert. Therefore, Gordon Ryan is right.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I'm saying that these researchers, you can look. I think it's like called the H factor. I can't remember, but there's some sort of score that essentially, and it's got its limitations, but that essentially measures how good of a researcher or how good of a scientist somebody is. And these are the people that are coming up with the research. And so it's like, or like it's essentially like, it's not because Gordon Ryan holds a black belt or holds these specific titles. It's because what he goes and does works in the real world. And that's what these researchers do. They go, they have the title, and it goes and works in the real world. And that means that they're the best what they do.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we look at the data, not the person. Because again, if we're going to use this jiu-jitsu analogy, there was a point where the consensus amongst black belts, people who applied it in the real world, is you don't attack the legs. You just don't do it. Right? And then all of a sudden, some guys went out and being like, well, that's 50% of the body. And they just started doing it. And it had nothing to do with their application or like their standard of being a black belt. They just started submitting people. Right? And it was the data that spoke. It wasn't the person. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to look at the data, not the person.
And this is where the analogy falls apart a little bit. I think that you get the general gist of what I'm saying here, but you have come up with some places where it's not irrelevant. Where in jiu-jitsu, you can go and actually test the stuff out, and it seems reasonable. It's like it's not very hard to understand the body. It's a physical space, and you're just like, oh, if I put my hand like this, it's obvious. Just I've experienced moving my body and the leverages on putting leverages on people. I know that this is going to be the result because I have that understanding, right? And so that's what you're telling me. You're a brown belt. You're experiencing this. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, like let me give you a real life example. Like yesterday,
can I finish?
Go ahead.
Can I finish it really quick? Thank you. And so, you're saying, hey, I need to check it myself. But in these more advanced sciences, especially the theory of evolution, it's a multidisciplinary endeavor. And so you have to have different experts from different fields coming together and combining their information, their experience, and their knowledge to contribute to this grand theory. And essentially, these ideas are more abstract. They're abstractions, and they require countless previous hours of study. And so that's what I'm saying is like you or I will never be able to completely understand what they're saying.
Sure.
And so
but that's fine. I can look at their data. Right, I don't need to pull a fossil out of the ground and do it myself to examine the data of them pulling the fossil out of the ground and examining it and coming to conclusions and how they came to this. I'm going to take the principle of charity and assume that the information that they're delivering is honest. I'm going to see if their logic works. And again, going back to the jiu-jitsu analogy, John Danaher, the best trainer in the world. There's nobody better than him. This is the consensus viewpoint, right? I saw a video of John Danaher showing a move, and I didn't just go automatically think, oh, that move worked. I went in class yesterday and I tried it. And I tried it with my coach, and we applied it in application. We used the data. We didn't just use, well, John Danaher said so.
Yeah. I want to make it really clear that it's not just.
Can you just hold that thought?
Know,
I just want to open this door because my wife's not strong enough to do it.
Come on, you're a brown belt and jiu-jitsu,
so
get your leverage points on it.
Oh, I was dumb. I didn't unlock the door.
All right,
She was trying to do a gi baseball bat truck and didn't have the gi on.
Yeah.
Although we know a guy that can do that one.
Do you do jiu-jitsu? You seem to be very familiar.
I did wrestling in high school, and then I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu in university. It was like a very casual thing, though.
Fair enough.
But there were some good guys that came in though that would just wreck you. You know, like there's this one math PhD that would come in, and there was like this farm boy who was probably like 240, you know, best in the county, and this nerdy math guy would just fucking wreck him every single time.
That's usually how it goes.
It was really funny.
You gotta watch out for the nerds.
You got anybody who comes in with like a like this, right, and like nerdy looking. Those are the ones you got to be worried about. Don't worry about the jack guy in the corner. Worry about the guy who's playing Pokemon. Anyways, go ahead with your argument. Oh, did we lose him again?
He got bored of
Someone opened up their mouth.
It's true though.
It's
true. You gotta when talking about jiu-jitsu, those are the people you gotta worry about. All right, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I just unplugged my mic on accident. So anyway. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up, and it seems like you have like a, you know, your standard for evidence a little bit higher than, you know, what I think would be reasonable for most people. Is what
As
I
a
would
Christian, there's no way you put that on a Christian who's convinced that no way you would say that. Anyways, go
ahead. Could I ask you, before we get into specifics, could I ask you like just to like check if your standards is equal across domains?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to mention like scripture or anything. I would just say like germ theory of disease. Like, what's your take on that?
Oh, well, I just have like application in life, right? I find if I don't keep myself clean, I get sick. So I keep myself clean. But there's also like a principle of caution, right? If the FDA says that, hey, you're more likely to get worms from eating pork, what's the harm in cooking the pork extra to make sure I don't get worms? That's a principle of caution.
Okay. But so you don't necessarily think you're agnostic on germ theory of disease, but you do stuff in your life based on the recommendations and you're saying, hey, it works, so I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with that, right? I apply it in my life. And plus I have obsessive compulsive disorder, so I'm like a natural germaphobe anyway.
Oh no. Okay. I can get into. I'll have some stuff to think about that because it's very difficult to say like, hey, you know, lower your evidence bar. But yeah, I'll think about that later. I get into some of the specifics though. So I want to talk about two important things, which is orthogonality and also novel predictions. Orthogonal, investigation of, something it's essentially just like a fancy word, and it just means looking at something from a different angle. And getting like different points of view is essentially what you want to draw from that. And, like you could see somebody and it appears to you they're flipping somebody off, but from the side, but if you move in front of them, they're just making a peace sign at somebody,
Or like,
so it's like,
I different angle.
I
didn't actually have my finger in my ear. Right. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, precisely. So in the analogy that I'm drawing from that is that whenever using certain methodologies and certain tools and instruments to examine physical features about the world, those carry with them certain limitations.
Mhm.
And if whenever you examine it from using one methodology or one instrument, one tool, and you use several other methodologies and several other tools, you're essentially canceling out different limitations and assumptions that each of them carry with them, and therefore multiplying the likelihood that your conclusion is correct because each of them carries with them different types of limitations. So if each of those angles that you're looking at one thing still show that it's true, even from those different angles, that highly increases your credence that the conclusion of each of those things is true.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Another one is about making novel predictions. I'm sure you've heard of like Tectonic, where they're just like, hey, they had this evolutionary theory, and they said, hey, here's like one fossil, or here's like one species. Here's a species we think that it came from, but there's a missing intermediary that we have.
So like abduction?
Yes, based on where we know this species is located, its physical attributes, and how we've dated it, and based off how we know the species that came from it, its attributes, and its physical location, that kind of stuff, we can then infer where the intermediary would be. And they've done that, many different times.
Mhm.
This isn't my field, that I am in, so I don't know the specifics, but
Sure.
one great example you can
but
look into is
abduction,
Tectonic.
but
and they found
abduction
it.
in general is like not a reliable information for like truth. You can make like a quick inference, and it might even be likely. But if we're trying to like adopt a whole worldview on how the world operates, I don't think that's a good system.
Correct, which is why you need like multiple different reasons to believe it. That's just like one.
Mhm.
So you're correct. With abduction is weak, but if you have multiple abductions
Well, I
plus
think
mechanistic explanation,
Yeah, I think that abduction though is presupposing. You start on the presupposition of evolution, or even a justification for evolution. And if you have that justification and you find this like this bone, then you can make this abduction. Well, it's most likely connected to these species because you have this background knowledge of evolution. I've yet to get to that point.
not exactly. They're not simply assuming that these things are related. So what you're doing is you're using your rationality, your reason, to determine, hey, an intermediary between these two things that, Bill says these things are related. If that is the case, so it's, it's legitimate. If it is the case that these two are related,
Mhm.
then they have an intermediary. If they're related, the intermediary would look something in between them. So like a long snout versus a short snout.
Right. But that's what I'm
It would
saying.
have a medium snout.
Yeah, if they are related. That's the background
Correct.
knowledge that I haven't been convinced of. So that's the abduction, right? It's like if these two things are related, then you would expect to see somewhere in between. It's a good abduction. But what I'm saying is I haven't been convinced of the background knowledge of those two things being related.
Okay, let me put it this way. If it rains, then it's wet on the floor. It's wet on the floor, then it rains. And you're not convinced that if it rains, it's wet on the floor. Although this is, that.
Well, I think you got your logic backwards there. If it rains, the ground will be wet, but it does not mean that if the ground is wet, it rained. Those are two different syllogisms.
At the very least, it increases your credence that it rained.
Well, no, there's a whole multitude of things that can make the ground wet. Now, if there's like if you could look at like a huge land space and you could say, yeah, well, okay, most likely rained because of the land space and like all this information of things you would expect to see with the rain. But I'm talking like purely on the syllogism. If it rains, the ground will be wet. That's true, right? Because that's where rain goes. That's induction.
Yeah.
But if the ground is wet, does not necessarily mean it rained.
True. I 100% agree with that, which is why whenever you stack abductive conclusions together, it increases the overall credence within what you're saying. And also what you said with the ground in a large geographic location. What you're doing there is essentially saying like, oh, I know my neighbor or my kid just didn't get the hose and spray the lawn, within a certain radius of the door. So I think that it rained and,
Well, no, what I meant is like, let's say there's like, 1,500 kilometers of wet ground. The likelihood that somebody did that with a water gun is so low that it's more likely that it rained.
It's a certain evidence at the exclusion of other evidence, which is another principle that I forgot to mention, is that these abductions are even better when the prediction that you're going to see is true when that prediction excludes other possible explanations. So you have two competing explanations, or like, any number of explanations that you've come up with. Certain facts about the world are eventually going to cross different ones off. And whenever you're trying to cross them off, you say, hey, what would I predict if explanation A were true? What would I predict if explanation B were true? And then you essentially, can say, and we need to make these predictions exclusive to the other explanation. And then you say, okay, it turns out that the prediction A sub A is correct, which means that explanation B is significantly less likely.
So, not to be rude, I feel like we've spent far too long on our epistemology, and I'd rather kind of get into like why should I believe in evolution? Because I think right now, so far, it's just like you're kind of challenging my like standard of I should just accept consensus viewpoints, and then you even conceded that I'd have to lower my standard of evidence, which seems weird to take that position.
Yeah, I would have to think about that a lot more. And I wouldn't be ready for taking that on. So, okay, so I'm pretty sure I've said everything I want to say about the principles of the science of philosophy. Sure. And we can, one of those specifics, is Tiktaalik. So do you have any other candidate explanations for, let's say, Tiktaalik existing where it was predicted?
I don't. No, because my position is agnosticism because I haven't looked at the data.
Okay. Would you agree that under the condition that it is true that they made this prediction and the prediction worked?
What is Tiktaalik? What is that?
So essentially, it's a intermediary species that they believe is the transition between one species and another. So it's like they have A and C. They think that there's B there. Based on properties of A and C, they predict B will be in a certain geographic location.
Okay,
and
so
lo and behold,
how do they know that this is an intermediary species? How do they know it's just not a species in isolation?
So whenever there's a transition between two different species, there's going to be a certain set of like.
Hold on there. You said whenever there is a transition between two different species. How do we know that there is transitions between two different species? Because we have to start there. Because you're asking me to presuppose that whenever there is, we would see this. Well, I need to know that it could happen in the first place.
Okay, so we have recorded a transition, essentially species transition. The word species itself is a little bit, it's kind of gray. Like biology comes in shades of gray. And that's just like an unfortunate truth.
Well, I don't think that makes sense. I don't think it comes in shades of gray. I think there's missing data. Things are either true or false, right? Or you don't know. Those are only three doxastic attitudes. You can't say it's like somewhere in between, unless that's true. By gray.
Yeah. Let me explain that better, perhaps. By shades of gray, I essentially mean the line between what is a species and what isn't is very blurred. So essentially, what you have is these things called biological constructs. In all the realms of science, essentially, there's these things. They're called mental constructions, where we take real facts, like real objective facts, and draw circles around these certain set of facts or properties that are objective, and we call that something. Like let's say an example that you would accept: certain breeds of dogs. There are certain mutts that you get like a line of mutts that each have a percentage of, I don't know, German Shepherd and Border Collie. And at some point it's like, where do the German Shepherds stop and where do the Border Collies begin? And then you could say, well, does the distinction between the German Shepherd and the Border Collie even exist? So that's essentially what I'm trying to communicate with that. It's the same thing with respect to species.
Yes, but that again is just a lack of information. That doesn't mean that there's like this gray area of what that is. There is a true standard of what this is. And if the case of evolution would be, you're like, oh, it's a cross between Border Collie and what was the other one?
I'm not saying this is evolution, just to let you know.
But hold on.
But German Shepherd and Border Collie.
Yeah, so German Shepherd and Border Collie. Well, let's say they're a cross between the two. I don't understand why it wouldn't just be distinctly its own thing.
Okay, so what if you have one that has, let's say, 25% heritage Border Collie, 75% heritage German Shepherd? What is that?
It's distinctly its own thing.
It's distinctly its own thing. Okay,
Yeah,
so then we can modify.
If we're talking like strictly an identity, right? Like then it is its own thing, because it doesn't have the identity of Border Collie. It doesn't have identity of I keep forgetting the other one.
German Shepherd.
German Shepherd, right? It doesn't have that identity. So therefore it has the identity, which encapsulates 75% this, 25% this, which would be uniquely its own thing. If not, you're literally breaking the laws of logic.
You won't be breaking the laws of logic. What I'm saying is that there's a construct, which is a grouping of properties of a certain entity. And these properties are real, but the boundary we draw around them is a construction. So let's say, let me take something.
I want to focus on that because I don't think that's true, right? I think, right, if we're talking strictly, again, the law of identity, if something cannot be the same way in the same sense in two different locations, it doesn't work. So if we have this thing, right, that is identical to Border Collie, and we have this thing identical to German Shepherd, right, that is the standard of what it is. And then we have this third thing that is not identical to German Shepherd, not identical to Border Collie. We wouldn't say that this is some gray area between the two. We would say this has to be distinctly its own thing. It has its own identity. Now, we as a human species haven't named this. We'd say, oh, it's half and half. But that is the name. It's half Border Collie, half German Shepherd. That's the name we've imparted upon it. But that doesn't change the referent of what it is.
I would agree with that. Okay, so at what point within the distribution of percentages of Border Collie and German Shepherd, at what point does a thing stop being a German Shepherd and it become that thing that is its own thing?
Well, the moment that it's not identical to German Shepherd, even if it's like 0.0001% difference, it is no longer German Shepherd, depending on what quantifies German Shepherd.
Okay, so what quantifies German Shepherd is essentially the genetic and epigenetic, its genetics, epigenetics, and its phenotypic presentation. And those are the three real things that I would say qualify what a German Shepherd is. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I just have to take you on your word of it. Again, this is not my field, not what I've looked into. But I say if you have like necessary and sufficient conditions that one has to meet to be classified as German Shepherd, if it meets it, then it's a German Shepherd.
Sure. And I'm saying that those necessary and sufficient conditions are essentially arbitrary because of the example that I've laid out with the gradual, with the essentially, I don't want to overuse this term, but the spectrum, between the Border Collie and German Shepherd that is real.
I agree. Now we're getting into like the problem of identity in general, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
if we solve that philosophical problem, you and I are going to achieve a Nobel Peace Prize.
I would say that it's not entirely solved, but essentially the sciences, we call these things constructions and constructs. And essentially a lot of our constructions are it's constructs down to something that's real. And the thing that we know is real right now that is possibly foundational, but we're not entirely sure, is like the quark field. But that's like a whole separate thing. If you can't tell, I favor nominalism over, some sort of other, I don't know what kind of view you would hold if there's like, universals or particulars, how you square that circle, and I know that it's not a settled thing, but
I a lot of these terms I'm not really familiar with on a whole lot of jargon. What I've mainly studied is not philosophy, but logic, and a lot of that jargon is not included in that.
Okay, so let me think for a second. So you brought up the problem of identity, and I would say that is a problem because the identity German Shepherd isn't real. It is simply a mental construction that we have put, that we derive utility from in calling things German Shepherds and things Border Collies.
I disagree with that. The referent of what a German Shepherd is real based off the category that we've placed. Now, the category is arbitrary. We could have changed the category, but then we've also changed the reference.
True. And the line that we put, the thing that we designate as the category is arbitrary.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
And so it's not real.
100%, right? The
fact that we've said
The fact that we said humanity is a specific genus, right, is arbitrary.
Yes.
We could have included an ape in the same category as us, but we've set this limit, and that limit does have a reference, right? It's included in these categories and these necessary conditions.
I would say that it has a set of reference.
Not
I agree that it
reference,
has a set of
referent.
I'm using REFENTS, reference. Like there's a bunch of individual
I thought you
humans
said
that
reference,
it is. Yeah, it's confusing. So these categories, because they're simply constructions of biological reality, and the lines are arbitrary, oftentimes there'll be times where these lines are essentially blurred, right? Where you get to like, oh, the thing that's like 99.999 German Shepherd and 0.0001, Border Collie or whatever it is. And so the question is when is it German Shepherd? When is it not? And so these categories are abstract ideas that are not real. Do you agree with that?
No.
And only the particulars are real.
What I'm saying is the category of what like we place is like, this is German Shepherd. Right?
Yes.
That is an arbitrary lines. But what's in between the lines is real. So like the lines could have been here, could have been here, could have been here, could have been here. All that is arbitrary. It's ad hoc. We just placed it because, well, I mean, there's rationality on why we put it there, but it could have been somewhere else. But everything that is in between the lines is real. That actually exists.
I enjoyed the review with Dan, praying gesture emoji for you
all. So I would say that these things are. I'm trying to remember how we got here. I'm trying to retrace the dialectic. I was saying that there was a transition between one thing or another, and you were saying, how do we know that those things that it's not? How do we know that it's not its own thing?
Well,
was that your response?
No. So what you started off with was like, when we see transitions and things, we see these things. And I stopped you there. I'm like, well, you're kind of begging the question, because the whole thing in question is the transitions from species. With that being said, I'm going to let you give your last thought, but I've seen a lot of people in the chat, and I just see my wife. Everybody's getting bored.
I'm sorry. I would just say that there's a mechanism for evolution, and we do say it. The distinction between micro and macro evolution is not a real distinction. If you can walk 5 steps, you can walk a mile. You can walk 100 miles. And then through that, with the abduction that we make, we have a mechanism of how it happens. We see it. We see evolution, which is this slow change. If we see the slow change, it could be a big change. We say, hey, if the big change is true, what would we expect? And then we see what we'd expect, and we see that multiple times from multiple different angles.
Yeah, I think there's a big leap between adaptation and speciation. But
there's no difference.
I'll leave it at that. That's what I'm saying. You're saying there's no difference. I'm saying it's a big leap to assume that we see adaptation that then leads to speciation.
Well, with that being said, can I ask you one question? And it won't be with an argument. Are you young Earth, old Earth, or are you agnostic on that?
Well, I think the Earth is old, but how it came to be old is up for debate.
Okay,
it could be the case that God simply made the universe old.
Okay, all right. I'll let you go then.
God bless.
Adios.
Super nice guy, but that was like a philosophy paper for the two of us. I was having fun.
Yeah.
But I know you guys weren't.
Come back another time, Rick. You're very nice. Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
Somebody said that Gabe is lacking as a mod because we let people troll so long. We believe in free speech here.
Mm-hmm.
Lay off Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
We're
big advocates of there's obviously there's certain lines we don't let people cross, but we're big advocates of having disagreeers in the chat. So people call me, and here's the thing. I was talking to them the other day on Discord, and they're like, when we see people talking shit about John, we encourage it. Anyways, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 23 years old.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Yeah, man. I guess you're a Christian?
It's generally what's entailed, yeah.
All right. So that's how you believe the earth came to be, everything that came to be is Jesus, or God, rather, created everything.
Yeah, but the mechanism and how that's done is a debate in itself.
Okay. And I'll just go back to that last guy, what he was saying. So, you think that God made the earth old? Do you think that's how the earth came to be? He made the earth old?
No, I didn't take that position. I said that's a possibility.
Okay. And if that wasn't a possibility, then how would that entail?
Well, then there'd be other possibilities. If something's a possibility, that entails there's different possibilities.
Well, if God didn't make the earth old, then the other contrary would be that he made the earth 13 billion years ago. Or the universe, rather.
That he made the universe, yeah, when the universe began and set parameters that eventually led to the earth, yeah.
Okay. And so Jesus was crucified 2,000 years ago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So God made the earth God made the universe 13 billion years ago, and he sent his son to be crucified only in modern history 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
All right. How long have humans been here for?
I have no clue.
300,000 years. So
how do you know?
Well, we can go back and we can look at the earliest ancestors of humans, which would be 300,000 years ago.
Okay, show me.
Well, you can look it up for yourself. It's a very measurable thing. You can look at
how did you measure it?
How elements. I believe they do carbon dating for that.
They? Who's they?
The scientists who have said multiple times that humans have been here 300,000 years. They don't just come up with a number.
Which scientist?
You're welcome to look it up. I mean, it's a very well-known.
Well, no, but
you're
making this claim, right? That this is just like an absolute fact. I'm asking you to substantiate it, right? So you want to cite an expert, but you can't even tell me which expert said it and how they came to their conclusion.
I feel like it's more of a well-known fact that humans have been here 300,000 years rather than.
Well, it's not a well-known fact. I don't know it, so I would hey man, I'm open to it. If you can give me the relevant data to convince me, I'll accept the position.
Well, how do you think humans are?
Yeah, I take an agnostic position. I don't know.
Okay. Well, moving on from that, would you say that? Oh, sorry.
Caller, it was Rome. Everything else is fake. See the truth. Unfleshed EHY vessel.
Hold on. I just got to do.
Okay, so if you're God, unflesh your vessel.
Sorry, man. Inside jokes, but go ahead.
So, God sent his son to die, though, right? For our sins.
Mm-hmm.
If God was the creator of the universe, okay, does he create everything?
Well, it depends on what you mean by that, right? Again, it could be the case that God set the first thing in motion, knowing all other things would happen and entail. So therefore, you could say, yeah, he's the creator of the universe because he's the one who created the beginning and the start of it. So it's like, who's the creator is like a difficult thing to wrestle with because like there's this old saying, to first learn how to make an apple pie from scratch, you have to create the universe. So like if my wife makes an apple pie, did she create the apple pie or whoever set the universe in motion, did they do it?
I gotcha. And if God did create the universe and all these other things just happened to follow suit of it, but he was aware of what would follow suit of that after he created it, could he, since he is all powerful, could he have intervened and stopped what was going to happen?
Could he have? Yes.
Okay. So when God saw that there is going to be cancer from the sun, did he just think, well, I'm just not going to do anything about that. I'm just going to let the sun cause cancer?
Well, he knew that was going to happen before he even created it. But yeah, he said it was going to cause cancer.
So is that concerning that all powerful God would allow a sun to cause sunburn just because he wants to do that?
Well, you're begging a question there. You're saying it's just because he wants to do that. How do you know that there isn't a greater purpose or meaning behind it?
What would be the purpose what would be the purpose of the sun causing cancer? What would be
I don't actually have to provide that, right? I could take a skeptical theism approach and simply say, I don't know the reason that God allows certain unnecessary evils, but I can say he's still good and he's still just because at the end of the day, he will cure and conquer it all.
Okay. And does God make the rules for the universe? Does he make if Jesus didn't die for our sins, would we have all went to hell?
It's hard to say. I think it was always part of God's plan to have an intermediary between us, where there'd be some sort of interaction. But yeah, he could have set the parameters where we all would have ended up in hell. Sure, that's a logical possibility.
Okay, so because he did not send his son to die from the heavens in the Middle East, in an obscure place in the Middle East, to not have his son publicly crucified, that would now make me go to hell.
No, I didn't say that. You wanna try to steel man what I said?
I didn't know that's exactly. Well, you're right. Maybe I went too far on that. But to say that his son dying on a public execution would save our sins, he's the creator. He's the one creating the rules.
Yeah.
Why would his own son have to die if he's the creator? You see the problem?
Because it's a really optimal method that led to us to freely choosing a relationship with him. That's a reason.
But okay, but is it a sacrifice?
Well, it's our sacrifice.
But if he's the creator, he wouldn't have to have a sacrifice. He could just say, hey, I don't have to have my son be publicly executed. I can just have, but he doesn't have to do that.
Correct. He doesn't have to do that. But the mechanism in which him doing it led to the optimal amount of people or the max amount of people freely choosing to be in a relationship with him.
But did he choose the mechanism for which that to happen?
What do you mean?
Did he choose for his son to die?
Yes. I feel like we're on repeat again. I've already established that God had set up the system. I'll just clarify the position so you don't have to ask it a fifth time. God set up a standard and set of rules that led to Jesus being crucified. He did not have to do it. He could have done it another way. But by doing it through the crucifixion and the sacrifice of the Son, it leads to more amount of people. It's a very optimal method to a lot of people freely choosing to be in a relationship with him, which is ultimately God desires.
Okay. And do you believe in heaven or hell?
Yes.
So do you think hell is eternal?
Well, I think it's debated. I do think it's eternal. There are some people that hold to the position that it's eternal or not eternal, but it's hell for a period until, the evil has been burnt away from you and eventually there's a universalism. I don't hold to their position. And then there's obviously the annihilation point of view. There's two perspectives of that. It's that you just go straight into annihilation, you cease to exist. And the other one is that you get thrown into hell, which eventually leads to your annihilation.
Well, whatever your position is on it, whoever, what kind of Christian you are, which kind of, whatever you come from, doesn't it seem a little harsh? Okay, say if you don't believe in God, you don't have enough proof, whatever. I'm a good person on this earth. Do you go to hell if you do not believe in God? Do you believe?
What do you mean by belief?
In your opinion, how do you get to heaven? Do you just believe in God? I mean, there's so many different ways Christians believe.
I still need to know what you mean by belief.
Accepting the Lord and Jesus Christ as your Savior.
Yeah, that's an action. So are you just saying somebody accepting it? Because somebody could accept Jesus as the Lord and Savior and not even believe that he exists.
Okay, but how do you believe that you get to heaven?
Again, I still need to know what you mean by belief. You're asking me how I believe something, and I don't know what that entails because I don't know how you're using it.
I'm saying, how do you yourself believe that I, as a person, can get to heaven?
If the next thing you say is belief without defining belief, I'm going to remove you. Is that fair?
There's no. You're asking me to define a question which I have already told you. You're making no sense. I'm not asking you to
define a question. I'm asking you to define a word. What does the word belief mean in this context?
Your faith. What do you think? Okay, I mean, there's no other way I can word it.
Okay, so a mental state of like a position that you hold in your head?
A mental state of a position that you hold that you think that you can get to heaven.
Yeah, people don't go to hell because they're ignorant.
Okay, people don't go to hell because they're ignorant.
Yeah.
So you think that if you do not believe in God, say I'm ignorant, I don't know, then I will not go to hell.
No, I said that's not the reason you go to hell.
Okay. So what would be a reason in your belief that that someone would go to hell?
Yeah, so the reason that people go to hell is because hell is just being in the presence of God and not wanting to accept him. That's what hell is. So if you do not want God, you do not desire God, you do not trust him, you do not love him, you hold something to a higher regard than him, then you will be in your own form of torment. It's something that you impose upon yourself.
Okay. So do you think that Well, I mean, I don't know. People don't hold that position. People usually say if you don't believe in God, you go to hell, or whatever.
Most people don't know what those words mean. That's why I'm very prominent about like, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, that's actually a better position, I think. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't believe in God, you go to hell, whatever." But if hell is eternal punishment, does that seem a little extreme for a finite amount of time on this earth that we have?
Because it's you who's punishing yourself. Hell, right? There's this old C.S. Lewis saying, "Hell is locked from on the inside." That's the idea. So it's you punishing yourself. You've been given over to your own depravity, and you constantly torture your own self rather than just accepting who God is.
But if God creates these people in this globe and He hides from them, He's never, God's never shown Himself.
Again, you don't go to hell for ignorance, so.
Okay. So going to hell, you would have to deny God.
Yeah, you have to reject Him. Now, you may not actively reject Him. It may not be. Hold on one second. Thank you so much, Mitzrayim. You might not actively reject Him, where it's a process of standing before Him and saying, "I reject Him." It may be like an inactive subconscious rejection, where like in your heart you hold something to a higher regard of God than God, so therefore you never see Him because you're just closed off to it.
Okay. And well, I don't guess I have much else to say. I mean, that was kind of a different position that I've heard in the past. So,
All right. Well, I appreciate your time.
But it's nice to meet you, man. I'll follow you and I'll stay.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being such a great interlocutor.
Nice.
Yeah, you just got to get through. You got to get through the trolls first, and once you do that, you start getting to the nice people. But once you start alive, you get a big batch of trolls that come in that just want to piss you off, and then eventually they leave because they get bored. Sometimes the trolls stick around. That's the case. Hello, how are you? And just real quick,
Hey man, how are you? I'm 18.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Yeah, I can convince you that like agnosticism is a more reasonable view, if that's okay.
I actually think agnosticism is an extremely reasonable view.
Oh, what? I'm saying more reasonable than, Christianity.
Christianity in general? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so we can agree that moral realism is like the ideology inside of Christianity?
Yeah, Christians are moral realists usually.
Right, okay. So can we agree on some like foundational moral like realism, like truths, I guess? Like, it's always going to be wrong to murder babies, right? Can we agree?
No, I don't agree with that. Because I'm a virtue ethicist, and I think that's what's imparted, right? You're kind of imposing like a deontology.
Right, okay. So as a moral realist, I'm sure you have some sort of like moral truths that are like at least foundational, always wrong. This is objectively wrong. Can you give me some of those?
No. Again, I'm a virtue ethicist, so it's not going to be the case. Like you're trying to impart like deontology again, which is not what I hold to.
Okay, so I'm confused. You're saying you're a moral realist, but you don't have access to the moral truths?
No, you're asking for specific examples in each scenario. So the idea that there is a moral realism all stems from a standard of selflessness.
Okay, but I'm just asking, even though you believe in moral realism, do you believe you have access to the moral truths inside of your ideology?
Yeah, can you elaborate on what that means?
Do you think that you can know what is objectively wrong and right at any extent?
You know it? Sure, yeah. That's a possibility.
Do you think you know?
In all scenarios, no.
Yeah, just in these foundational, basic moral principles, like hypotheticals, I'm asking you, is it okay to kill babies, rape, things like that? Are those objectively wrong?
Can you just use like TikTok friendly words, please?
Oh, my bad. I said grape.
No, you didn't. You didn't. Maybe you thought about it, but it did not come out.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So again, no, I wouldn't say it's always wrong, because there may be a case where it's a good thing to do. I think, again, a virtue, like, you seem like a smart guy. You understand the difference between like a virtue ethicist and like a deontology point of view, right?
Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, not really. My understanding of like deontology and virtue ethics is like pretty minimal.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe
So
you can
like,
help me
yeah.
understand.
So like a deontology would be like there's like certain laws of oughts and ought nots, and it's just like good to hold the like you ought not unalive a baby, and that's true in all cases. That's more like a deontology point of view. Or like virtue ethicism is you're striving to seek out certain virtues. So this would be like
Right.
the gifts of the Spirit that is given in Galatians. So the principle that I hold to is that God is love, and what love is purely selflessness. There's no selfishness. It's selflessness. Act for another person. And so what one ought to do is summed up in two laws. Love God with all your heart, right? And then love your neighbor as yourself. That's the ultimate goal. Now, in certain scenarios, like it could change. So let me give you an example. It is the case that you shall not bear false witness. Now, that is in the case of like bearing false witness to try to destroy or do something selfish. But let's say I am somebody in Smotsy, Germany, that's hiding Jews under my floorboard. It would be the more virtuous thing to lie to the Smotzies that are coming to take them.
Right. Okay. So I hear you. You're kind of saying more like a consequentialist point of view here. You're saying like, maybe this action itself might be wrong, but the outcome, like the net positive, is going to be like what makes me do it.
No. The actions in themselves don't really carry the weight of like what is wrong or right, because it can change per scenario. Right. So you're saying lying is wrong. So I might lie here and that's wrong to do, but the consequence is better. That's not the position I'm holding. What I'm saying is lying in that position is ultimately good because you're actually seeking the betterment of another person and trying to stop an evil.
Okay. So you're saying that moral acts, like the verb of, acting out your moral ought, that doesn't hold any sort of moral weight, but it's the like will of God, right?
Well, I think that's more like divine command theory. So again, the
I'm just trying to narrow. Yeah.
I'm
just trying to narrow down
to
what
clarify. Yeah, you seem like you're engaging in good faith, man, and I really appreciate it. So we have God, and in the Christian viewpoint, there's a triune God, and in the triune God, there's a Father and there's the Son. The nature of God is that the Father loves the Son, is that the Father eternally begets him, not for the Father's sake, but simply for the Son's sake. And this is simply like an axiom of the universe. This is what love is. This is what goodness is. And so when God creates us in his image, and we are supposed to be representatives of him on earth, our goal is to operate in that way to the things around us. It's to simply act selflessly towards them for their betterment and for their virtue as well. And that's the ultimate goal. And that can change per circumstantial situation.
Okay, I hear you. So, like, hypothetically, right, let me take something like sodomy in the Bible, right? Are you saying that hypothetically sodomy could be okay, it could be permitted, had the right, like, circumstances be met or parameters be met?
There's no mention of sodomy in the Bible.
Like, man shall not lie with another man.
Oh, in that case. Is there certain circumstances where that would be okay? Is it logically possible? Yes, I don't think it's metaphysically happened.
Okay, so I just would argue that this isn't really moral realism, right? If you're saying that it's like relative to this circumstance, that it's going to make the moral proposition true or not.
Yeah, moral realism means that there is a certain standard of goodness, right? Moral relativism is going to be that standard of goodness is going to be stance dependent on an individual.
Right. I'm not really trying to like narrow it into moral relativism, I guess, but moral realism is like this doesn't really seem like it falls under moral realism because you're saying that, for example, sodomy might not be bad, right? You're saying it could be okay.
That's not, again, so metaphysically so, that seems to be the case. That is the standard. God has set us for a certain purpose that we should be ordered towards, like creating new life. Now, is it the case that like if somebody holds a pew to your family's life and says, hey, unless you lay with this other man, I'm going to unalive your whole family? That could be a case where a situation where it's better to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just argue that's consequentialism. That's not you saying, yes, sodomy is bad. That's not you saying sodomy is good in this case. That's you saying, yes, sodomy is bad, but the net outcome is going to be good, so I'm going to do it.
No, what you're doing, and again, there could be overlap between consequentialism and virtue ethics, right? But consequentialist is going to lead to like problems of like, should we unalive one person to save 5? Right? I don't think that's the highest form of virtue.
Totally. Would you agree with that? We should unalive one person to save 5?
No.
If 5 are going to die?
No, I don't think. I think that could be a very selfish standard to hold to, right? Because you're now imparting that this person's value is not as valuable as the others, and that's what I'm saying. You could see overlap.
Okay.
Yeah, you could see you could see overlap between consequentialism and virtue ethics, but it's not entailed in all situations. So in this scenario, what you're doing is you're engaging in this specific act that is wrong by our standard for the sake of the others.
So just so I'm understanding, like the trolley problem, the classic one where it's like the 5 people and the 1 person, you're saying that even if it was going towards the 5 people, you wouldn't pull the lever and to save the 1 person because that's like you involving yourself and that's you actually committing it?
I think the trolley problem's a trolley problem, man. I don't have the answer to
Yeah,
that.
I'm asking you which. Yeah, well, like I'm pretty sure the virtue ethics side would say that no, I wouldn't pull the lever to save the 5 people because that's me involving myself in the scenario and doing something wrong.
No, I don't think that entails. I think it's a problem, and I hold to mystery on that one. Because
So-
I think there's so
well,
many
okay.
things you can incorporate into
Okay.
the trolley problem. I think there's a big difference between because the trolley problem leads to other problems, right? Would you pull the lever for 1 to 5? But also, would you push a guy off of a bridge, right, to land in front of the trolley? There's different entailments. There's different intuitions that don't feel correct. And so there,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
can-
just
yeah. So basically,
just with the least amount of external factors, right?
Let me finish. Basically, the trolley problem is you're taking this equation, you're putting it on the board, and you're saying it's very difficult to be consistent. I agree. That's why it's a problem.
I mean, I can say as like a, even under moral realism, like putting myself under the Christian worldview, I feel like there is no, like, maybe I'm not seeing it. There is no downside to pulling the lever and saving the 5 people.
Yeah. Again, I'm just gonna apply mystery here.
Apply mystery. What does that mean?
Yeah, it means that I don't have the answer to this question.
I'm asking you, what would you do?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the part I'm
But-
trying to impart upon you, but you can
Okay.
still be pressing.
Right. I mean, you ever heard this, like, not like you have a gun to your head, you have to choose, right? It's this hard of a decision, you'd let the gun go off?
Well, in that specific scenario, yeah, that would be the most selfless thing to do.
You'd let the gun go off and save 5 people.
Well, I'm not going to put myself in that scenario if somebody's forcing me to do that. I
Well,
don't understand.
that's
Can you
why it's like-
can you
it's a
re-explain the analogy?
hypothetical.
What's the analogy?
So the trolley problem?
No, the whole analogy with the pew pew. And again, TOS.
Oh my god, my bad. You have a Nerf pew pew up to your head, right? And it's going to go off unless you interact with the trolley in some way.
Unless I make this decision, I'll probably pull the lever, yeah.
To save the 5 people, right?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So why were you appealing to mystery like 2 seconds ago?
Because you're refusing to actually allow this conversation to go forward until I answer this question. Right now I'm just going to give you an intuition. I'd probably pull the lever. Do I have an explanation why? No.
Probably because you think that 5 people being saved is more valuable than 1 person being saved.
Yeah, it's an intuition.
Right. Do you think that could maybe tie into like objective morals at all? Like, do you think that it might be an objective moral truth that saving more people?
Our intuitions can be wrong. My intuition here is that, there's going to be more harm. There's going to be more chaos that falls upon the world. Somebody is going to be unalived here. I'm going to pull this lever and I'm going to choose that 1 person over 5. Do I have an explanation for the rhyme or reason on whether that is morally good to the state of the whole universe? No. But my intuition is that's where it's going to go.
Well, probably to limit pain, right? I mean, we can agree that's something you'd want to do. Limit the amount of suffering, right?
Are we going to move forward? I've answered this question.
Okay, sure. All right. So we can't agree on any objective moral truths. I guess I'll ask again. Do you think you have access to any moral truths inside of the Bible?
I've already answered this question.
Is it a yes or no? I just can't remember.
I've already answered it.
Could you just help me remember?
If it's up to you if you want to engage in good faith, man. We gave a long explanation of where that standard came from.
I'm being serious. I genuinely can't remember your answer.
Yeah, well then I appreciate your time. You can go back and watch again.
Well, I can't. It's alive.
It's recorded. It's DVR.
Oh, I'm new to all this. Okay, well, could you just answer my question, or are you just going to kick me?
I'm going to move on because I think you started in good faith, but now that I've spent like 5 minutes answering that very specific question at the start. If you chose not to listen and engage in it, that's not on me.
Okay, can I try to like guess your answer since you won't tell me?
No, I'm just going to move on. Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hello,
Yo,
how are
what's
you?
up, man?
And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm good. I'm in my 30s.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Yeah, sure. So, is Jesus a man that had testicles?
I don't think.
No, I already moved
I
on.
don't think he was in his 30s.
Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
19.
Sorry, how old?
19.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Does your God actually has a son?
Does my God have a son? Yes.
So, and he shares his nature, right?
Mm-hmm. They share a nature.
Okay, so now there's three gods, just like Zeus.
How?
I mean, two.
Yeah, how?
Zeus shares the same nature with his father.
Yeah, in what sense?
Isn't Zeus another god?
Yeah, so you're making a claim here. I'm asking you to
Okay.
substantiate. You're saying that
Yeah,
it's the
so-
same as
so that's
Zeus and
clear.
Kronos. So Zeus and Kronos, they share the same nature, therefore they're different gods. So when we're talking about the Father and the Son, they share the same nature and they're different gods. Yeah, can you show me in what way? Can you tell me in what way, in what sense?
That clearly means that there's multiple gods in your religion.
It's not the question I asked you. You want to try again? In what way, in what sense?
If your God has a son,
Uh-huh.
that means he's not even a god. To be honest, that's
All
not
right,
the rules of
last chance. In what way, in what sense?
God just can't have a son. That's
All
not
right,
he can,
appreciate
but
your
like
time,
that's
man.
illogical. That's illogical.
Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
20.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Yeah, I just want to ask, why do you believe that Jesus is God?
Yeah, can you give me the relevance?
What makes you believe that?
Yeah, so can you give me the relevance? Like if you have an argument and a position you want to hold, can you give me why you're asking this clarifying question?
I just don't believe that God is a man.
Okay, congratulations.
So was Jesus a man?
Yes.
So how can you believe that he is God?
So again, can you give me the relevance to your argument? Why this question is important? Because remember, you're supposed to be bringing an argument here.
My argument is that God can't be a man.
Okay, make the argument.
And Jesus is a man. Therefore, Jesus can't be God.
Yeah,
So why do you worship a man?
I don't accept your first premise that God can't be a man. Can you make that argument? Can you substantiate it?
I think it's mentioned multiple times in the Bible that God is not a man. No?
No.
Not one time?
Not in the context you're talking. And if you don't stop eating on my live, you'll go back to the chat.
What do you mean not in the context that I'm talking?
Yeah, you're talking about in a declaration of his ontology. There's no case where God talks about his ontology that he's not a man.
Well, it does say that God is not a man.
You don't know what ontology is, do you?
No.
Yeah, why didn't you ask?
Can you explain?
Yeah, why didn't you ask?
Can you explain?
Yeah, ontology is going to be the state of a nature, right? The aspect of what it is. So God never actually declares in his nature that he is not a man. He declares in like context of like rhetoric. For example, he says that I am not a man that I should lie, or a son of man that I should bear false witness. And that's in the context of like what his promise that he made towards Israel. But we can also go to verses where he says he is a man of war. God actually says he's a man. When we say that he's talking about being a human being there, he's talking about in the context of operating in war. It's called anthropomorphizing, right? It's an interaction between him and Israel.
I will say that the fact that he's saying I'm a man of war shows the opposite. That he's only using the phrase that he's a man to explain that he has the nature of war.
Great, awesome. So when he's saying I am a man, you don't actually think he's talking about his ontology there. But when he says I am not a man, you do think he's talking about his ontology. Can you give me a symmetry breaker?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, why?
Because he's clearly stating that he is not a man.
Well, he's clearly stating in the other verse he is a man.
He's not saying I'm not a man of war. He's saying I'm not a man. God is not human.
Yeah, he says I'm not a man that I should lie. And the other one he says I am a man of war. What's the symmetry breaker?
Because he can just say that I'm not a man that lies. He doesn't have to say I'm not a man at all.
That I should lie.
So I'm not lying. Yes.
That's not what he's saying. He's not saying I'm not a man, so I'm not lying. That's not what he said.
He could have just said I'm not a man that is lying.
Well, he could have said that. He could have said that. Stick 10 feathers up your butt. What's that have to do with anything?
No, I'm saying that when he wants to prove you that he's not lying, he's saying,
great.
I'm not a man.
Okay, let's try this. Make the argument.
The argument is that God is not a man. That's it.
Conclusion.
I'm saying what the Bible says.
Okay. I'm not convinced. You want to try again?
What?
Do you want to
I think
try
I've made
again?
my argument very
I'm
clear.
not convinced of your argument. Arguments are only as good as they are convincing. I'm unconvinced.
So you do believe that God is a man?
Oh my gosh. That's fine because you should read the super chats.
I was only going that long anyways because there's no one else in the thing. Okay. True. You admit to technical difficulty days. It's just clear that some of these callers have hardware issues of their own. Thank you so much for sending the Big John Steel membership. Appreciate you. Get those likes up, chat. God bless. Appreciate you. John is running UC, not Abby. She's cool. Amen.
Thank you.
Are we going to pretend that there are no experts that's questioned evolution? There definitely are, yeah. See if you can have a chat with Skydive Phil on ERVs. I don't know who that is. Also don't know what ERV is. Have I heard about the Chernobyl black frogs? No, I also haven't heard of that. I enjoyed the review of Than. Thank you. Caller, it was Rome. Everything else is fake. See the truth on Fleshy Vessel. Amen. Mitzram, thank you so much. Appreciate you. My goodness gracious. That just looks so much nicer. That chat. Just like whoosh, it appears and it glows and it lightly
fancy.
moves. It's I should add a sound effect. Nah, that'd be too much. That'd be too much.
Yeah. Agreed.
Submit to WOM. Congratulations. All right, guys. Just a fair warning. We are ending the live. It's going to be a shorter live today. I apologize because we had the technical issues. We started a little bit later, and I got plans tonight, so I'm going to go do my plans. So we'll be ending in like 30 minutes. I can't demand that we hit the dono goal. That would be unfair and unjust for me to do so. The fact that we got where we got is a blessing.
You have anybody else?
No, I got no one else in the queue.
Maybe we just hang out.
We're just chilling right now. Oh, it's the problem when you don't want to. That's the kind of issue, with, like especially with like TikTok, when you don't want to engage with people who are not engaging in good faith. Kind of limits your people that you could talk to. Thank you so much, Mitzrayim. Appreciate you holding us down. Kind of limits. One thing I'm not a big fan of, and I'll never be a fan of, is that if I spend a whole bunch of time substantiating a position and then you just ask me the same question I just substantiated, I'm going to move on. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Hello, 28. Just wanted to get on here real quick, say love what you do. God bless, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Gotta let you go though, because you got some noise going on. Somebody came in with the super chat, said, Big John tax. Thank you. Get the jizya in.
We're like 40 cents shy.
Toss a coin to your grifter chat. Again, I guess me saying that kind of like implies like a super chat, so I guess I was a little dishonest. I shouldn't have just said anything.
True, but you weren't trying.
That wasn't the goal. But I should have expected when I said that people would do it. Hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 25.
All right, man.
I'm good also. Thank you.
Awesome. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
I mean, probably not. I think it's like a matter of, maybe, for example, if you, why, first of all, I'll ask you, why do you believe in Jesus? Because it says you used to be atheist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you seem nice. I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to explain why. If you found out somebody was racist, would you need to know why they're racist to be able to convince them not to be a racist?
Yeah, that's a good point. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of me just explaining over and over again, I just prefer if you kind of give me a position on why I shouldn't.
So I think if my personal opinion is the Jesus that is typically believed in the Christianity is in alignment with the Bible, of course. I would assume you agree with this.
Yeah. Well, everything that we understand from Jesus, the best source is going to be the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And so there are things that I think are pretty, there are things that, I don't think are pretty agreeable upon when it comes to like things that are good, or work for society, right? So if, for example, Jesus is in alignment with everything in the Bible, and the Bible has things like maybe the Father or him. I guess I don't know. I guess it depends on how you take this, because I don't know which one it was. If it was Jesus or God or the Father, that, for example, killed 42 young men because they made fun of Elisha for being bald.
It doesn't say.
This isn't something.
Okay, for TikTok terms of service, just be careful of the words you use. Don't use the K word.
Okay, I apologize.
Elisha, they mauled them. Didn't say that they unalived them.
Okay. So is this still something that's justifiable in your opinion?
Sure, why not?
Mauling people, because of jokes or I guess comments, because
it's not just jokes. It's not just jokes. It's actually a denial of the prophethood of Elisha, right? Prophets in the Old Testament held this very high regard. They are a representation of God themselves. So when you insulted a prophet, you weren't just insulting the prophet. You were insulting God and His decree. You were committing blasphemy.
So, but what is him talking about his hair or his lack thereof have to do with
So you got to read the context, right? You got to read 1 Kings and 2 Kings. If we read, there's a parallel between Elijah and Elisha. Elijah was the prophet that Elisha was under. So when Elijah went up, he was one of the one that went up to heaven. He was ascended. His powers and what was given to him was passed down to Elisha. Elijah was known as a hairy man. Elijah had people challenge him. Elijah rained fire down from the heaven and it crushed all these people. Elisha was a bald man. They told him to go up like Elijah did. They denied his prophethood, and then he did the same thing. So when Elijah had his prophethood challenged, he rained fire from heaven. He destroyed the people who challenged his prophethood. When Elisha, right, because they're denying his prophethood, the reason they called him bald is because they're saying you're not Elijah, because Elijah was a hairy man. That was the whole context behind that. And so they're denying his prophethood. And then the same thing that happened when Elijah had his prophethood denied, Elisha had his prophethood denied, there was consequence.
Okay. And would Jesus do this?
Would Jesus himself do that?
Did Jesus show evidence of this sort of behavior?
Would Jesus condone it? Yeah, Jesus is the one who established it. Would Jesus do it when he was here on earth? No, because he had a different mission and a different goal.
Yeah, and this goal, I think is to spread spread this message of, well, there's only one. I'm getting a call. I don't know if
I didn't hear you. You cut out.
Yeah, sorry. So when it comes to, for example, Jesus, you can tell me actually what was the message.
Is that if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord, you will receive eternal life. That is the gospel.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. So is mauling is sending bears to maul people for the words that they're using a good way to show people to Jesus and the God? Or do you think this is something that turns people away?
There's a different context and a different sense, right? The people who were mocking were already Israelites. They've already taken on the covenant of God. It's a different standard. And then they got lost, so Jesus came to bring them back into the fold. And it also seems that people forget that in the book of Acts, the Holy Spirit literally unalives two people because they lied to Peter.
Oh, okay. So there's a different way. Sorry. I just thought about this because you said this. There's a different standard for Israelites than other people.
No, I'm saying there's a different context, not a different standard. Everything needs to be put in its place.
Oh,
in
I'm
context.
sorry. I thought you said standard.
No.
That there was a different standard between Israelites. And so
I might have said the
if
word
that
standard, but what I meant was context.
Oh, okay. So a different context for the Israelites at the time. So, what was the different context between these?
I already explained that. I don't like repeating my explanations.
Okay. So, I mean, it doesn't really it doesn't make sense to me. Because if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, well, if there's a different context for things, then God holds different context for different people.
Yes.
Isn't everybody supposed? Does God have favorites or?
Do you know what the word context means?
Yeah. Yes. Like
Can
different
you tell me what it
situations.
means?
No. Different types of situations, right?
Yeah. So
Something along those
for
lines.
example, right? Ought you stab
Mhm.
someone in the face with a pen?
Sorry. Can you repeat?
Ought you
I
stab
just didn't hear.
somebody in the face with a pen? Ought you do it?
No.
Okay, what if that person's attacking you?
Yeah.
Right.
I'd say so.
A context changes the scenario. It's not special pleading or
Yes.
showing favorites. Context means different things.
Okay. Yes. Yep. I totally understand what you're saying. So the context was different between
Right. And here's
Jesus.
here's the thing, right? So the people who denied the prophethood of Elisha and Elisha, they suffered immediate consequence of unalivingment on earth. The people who denied the prophethood of Jesus suffers eternal consequence of being thrown into a lake of fire for eternity.
And does this go for, and this goes for anybody, correct? Like for people who are deniers of Jesus of God, they all suffer the same consequence, afterlife consequence.
Yeah, if you deny Christ, you don't get to be with him.
Okay. Does this, is there like an age limit for this?
Okay. You asked 7 million questions. What's your argument?
Okay, I would say that my argument is that it doesn't seem very consistent for me because
well, hold
whenever
on.
you think
For me,
Yeah.
means it's for you. That's not an argument to convince
Okay.
me, right? So convince me
okay.
to stop worshiping Jesus. What's the argument?
Well, the argument is that when it comes to the Bible, no matter what the context is, it just doesn't seem justifiable to unalive people who may be underage. Also condoning things like, for example,
Are you hold on just real quick. Can I test your consistency? Are you pro-life?
pro-life as in, for example, like when it comes to abortion?
Mm-hmm.
I am not.
Okay, so then there is a justifiable reason to unalive somebody that's underage.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're inconsistent.
Okay, but this is, for example, this is something that's completely different because I'm talking about, if you want to get into this abortion argument,
I don't want to get into
that's
the
a totally
abortion
different
argument.
topic.
What I'm saying is you're inconsistent. You're judging God for a standard that you don't hold to yourself.
Being a fetus, though, is not underage.
Yes, it is.
That's not what I'm talking
By
about. You're not even born
definition, it
yet.
is.
You're not even born yet. You're not anything with sentience. You're not anything that can make a choice for yourself. You don't have memories. You are not this existing sentient.
Hold on. If I go into like a coma and I'm not conscious and I don't have any memories that are currently happening, does my age cease to exist?
Your age, no, but you've had these these objective experiences that have happened in the
I'm
past.
not
As a
conscious.
fetus,
I'm not conscious. Who has had this experience?
this is total. You are an objective person who has had experiences in life. For example,
No, you said
just because
I
of
had
like,
those
a
experiences.
person,
I'm no longer conscious. So what do you mean by that? Do I exist if I'm not conscious?
people also, for example, have memories of you. There's things that you
Notice I asked a question. You answered something different. You said I had these experiences. Does the I exist if I'm unconscious?
does the I exist if you don't have consciousness in that moment? Yes.
Okay, where does it
Because
exist
when you
if
sleep,
it's
are
not
you
in my
conscious?
consciousness? Where does
If it's
yeah,
you,
yeah. So hold on. If
yeah,
my consciousness is not required for me to exist, where do I exist? How do I exist?
you just objectively exist. There are
Great.
things outside
Cool. Then
of,
so
I
does a
guess,
fetus.
your.
Yeah, then so does a fetus. A fetus doesn't require consciousness to exist, just like I don't require consciousness to exist.
Okay, I didn't say the fetus doesn't exist.
Okay, so
Didn't
then a
say the
fetus
fetus
exists
exists.
and a fetus
I
has an
say the
age.
humanity of the fetus doesn't exist.
Well, what species is it?
It's a species or yeah, it's going to be a species of human, but
So it's
this
not a
is
species? Then what is it? If it doesn't fall under the category
a
of
fetus.
species. So a fetus is its
A
own
fetus.
species? So a dolphin fetus and a human fetus are the same species?
No.
Okay, so then what species is a fetus?
Okay, yeah, it's a human fetus.
Great. So it's a human
Yeah.
species that's under a certain age and doesn't require consciousness to have a personhood, as you just conceded. So then you're inconsistent. You think there are justifiable reasons to unalive a human under a certain age.
I guess I can agree to this. Yeah.
Right. So you're judging God
Okay,
for something
yeah,
that you don't
okay.
even hold to in your own life.
I would say that if, for example, if someone wants to do this, and God, the all perfect being who knows everything, who's all good, because do you think abortion's good?
No, generally, I don't think abortion's good.
No. And so, because you don't agree with unaliving, I guess, well, maybe you might be agreeing with unaliving underage people. Maybe you do agree with this. I don't know. But I would assume you would, because if you agree with God, then you believe in this.
Right.
And
Okay. So
so-
we can make the argument.
Mhm.
Why is it the case that God, who is the author of life and when decides when all people live or die, when he decides X person gets to be unalived, that also entails that I can decide that as well. Can you make that argument?
If the all creator, who's supposed to be all benevolent, all knowing, all helpful, all good, is unaliving people for
you steel man my question?
one mistake. I was getting to it.
No, can you
Okay.
steel man my question? 'Cause
So-
you're answering a question I didn't ask. What was my question?
Oh, you were asking me how can I judge a God when I am not holding myself to the same standard?
No. God bless.
This is what you were asking? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mr. X, hello, how are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
All right, man. Can you convince
And-
me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Yeah, basically, I've debated mostly the Indian context of God and the Muslim context of God. So I have not very very deep idea about Christianity, but there are incident what for me don't seems logical. Like Jesus was born out of virgin. I mean, it's biologically impossible.
Okay,
the
you said-
resurrection.
hold on. Those are two different things, right? You said it's biologically impossible and it's illogical. Those are not the same category. Which one do you want to hold to?
Biologically.
Okay, it's biologically impossible. All right, why should you expect to see that if an all-powerful God wants to make a statement on the earth that he operates within biological possibilities?
I think it's first of all you just assume that he's all powerful and therefore he is able to born out of virgin.
Hold on, I'll rephrase, right? It's an if-then condition. It's a material implication. It's if the case that we have an all-powerful God, right? I'm not stating I'm
Mhm.
assuming it. If the case we have an all-powerful God, why would you expect
Mhm.
to see him, if he's making a declaration, operate within the realms of scientific possibility?
No, if he's all powerful God, then he can do anything hypothetically.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So simply pointing at something and saying that this event operates without the realm of what I understand in possible science, therefore your all-powerful God can't exist, doesn't logically follow, right?
as in that saying, but I don't believe that Jesus was all powerful. But that is your
That's a
position.
different
Not mine.
topic. That's a different topic.
I believe that.
That's a
No, no,
different
I,
topic. Different topic. I want to focus on this one. And once we resolve this one, we can jump to the different topic. So we both agree, saying that hey, something that scientifically impossible happened, couldn't happen. Therefore, no God is a silly argument. We both agree with that, right?
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Move on to your next point.
Yeah, the resurrection one, which is that he was born again, dying and then born again. Again, completely not in terms of science and in terms of biology, going against the principle of science. I mean, you have to suspend biology of normal.
He literally just admitted, I'm kicking him because he literally just 2 seconds conceded. That's a silly argument, and then proceeded to make the argument. He 2 seconds ago said, it is silly to say that an all-powerful God can't go against the realms of science, and then made an argument about seeing an all-powerful God going against the realms of science. I swear, man, people's listening skills these days, comprehension skills, they're really low. Reading skills. Oh, this person's got the same name as me. Hello, John. How are you? And just real quick, how old are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How old are you?
I'm 39.
All right, man. Can you convince me to stop worshiping Jesus?
Maybe. I'm a little bit nervous.
Okay,
I've never called into a YouTube live like this before, so.
Best thing that you can do is just think that it's just me and you talking in a room, just two of us. Yeah, that's the best thing you can do.
Okay. So this is going to be like an internal critique. So from the Gospel of John, we understand that Jesus is the epitome of like the reflection of who God is, right? To all mankind. He's the incarnation. He's the example of the Father to everyone, right?
Well, I don't know what those entail, but we would say that Jesus is the image of the invisible God.
Yeah. Like he's like the bit like the apex image of God that we have. Like there's multiple, like as you're reading the Bible, there's multiple places where you see God kind of take on a form or like show himself to people, but Christ is supposed to be the epitome of it, right?
No, I think that's a false analogy. Christ is a person that exists in the Godhead, right? So we have three divine persons that exist in a singular nature that is God. And so they subsist in that nature. And the person of Jesus is an actual reflection of the Father, right? So as the Father dwells upon himself and he understands himself, he bears the image of himself, and this is Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is begotten from the Father, not made, right? Simply because the Father knows himself so intimately, we have the Son. And so the Son took
three
on flesh.
persons, one essence.
Yeah, the Son took on flesh and comes to earth. And this is what we mean when we say the Son is the image of the invisible God, and we are made in the image of God.
Yeah. So it's three persons, one essence, right? Is the Trinity thing? Okay, I got you. So basically, what all I was trying to say was that when we're looking at Christ, we're supposed to be able to like see God, like reflected. It's like this. He's supposed to be this kind of representative, of like to us in the flesh. That's what I meant. Like, not that he isn't God or
an interceder. An interceder, yeah. But yeah, he is.
God. Yeah. So when I'm looking at the life and ministry and work of Christ, right? There's a really, how do I put it? It doesn't seem to match up with things that I read in the Old Testament. It doesn't seem to match up with, I guess, like the standard that's there, the character that's there. So I guess, like for one example, right? If you're looking at the Old Testament, you see that you have places where it talks about how God considers children innocent, right? Like in Jeremiah, he says he's really angry at Israel, and he's saying that this never even entered his mind, that he didn't command it, that he didn't speak it, and they're sitting here, destroying their innocent youth, right? And then you have other examples in Deuteronomy where he's saying, they can go into the promised land because they know not the knowledge of good and evil, right? So you have different places. Say again?
That's never said in Deuteronomy.
Yeah, I can pull up the verse for you if you want to read it.
That they can go into the promised land because the people in the promised land don't know the difference between good and evil. Yeah, present that verse. Yeah.
Hold on. Can you stop? Oh, sorry. Wait, could you still hear me?
No, I can't hear you when you're out.
I'm sorry. I was trying to pull. I got to do the Google Magic thing. I don't have all these verses memorized, man. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm. While he's doing that, just a quick reminder, guys, if you want to support this channel, you want to help it grow, and you want to get access to exclusive content, make sure that you follow us over at bigjohnsteel.com, where you get several aspects of like memberships you can use to support us, right? We have $5 all the way to $100, and if we have people request it, we can go higher. This all gets you the same access, right? It's just how much you want to donate. You can also make one-time donations, right? Buy me a coffee for whatever amount you want. This helps the channel grow, also pays our bills, allows Abby to exist. And so but it's not just getting, it's not just giving us money for free. You get access to exclusive content. So for example, we did a review of Genetically Modified Skeptic on Thursday. That is now up on this website. That would only be for you guys and the members of YouTube. So bigjohnsteel.com if you want to help support the channel. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. So it is. Hold on 1 second. Deuteronomy 139. If you want to, because that way you can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's pull that up. So Deuteronomy 1. So then the Lord heard the sound of your words, and he was angry and swore an oath, saying, none of these men, this evil generation, shall see the good land which I swore to give to your fathers, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh. He shall see it, and to him I will give the land to which he has set foot, to his sons, because he has followed the Lord fully. The Lord was angry with me also on your account, saying, not even you shall enter there. Joshua the son of Nun, who stands before you, shall he himself enter there? Encourage him, and he will give it to Israel as an inheritance. Moreover, your little ones who said would become a plunder, and your sons who this day have no knowledge of good and evil shall enter there, and I will give it to them, and they shall take possession of it. But as for you, turn around and set out your wilderness the way of the Red Sea. So yeah, this is not saying what you're saying. This is when Israel was rebuked, and it's saying that everybody who's walking around in the wilderness are not going to inherit the promised land that was given to them because of their rebellion against God. And so what he's saying is that your small people, your small humans, your children, the ones who are yet to have an understanding of good and evil, they're the ones that are going to inherit the land. And so they actually walk through this land for quite some time, the wilderness, and they end up all like being unalived from old age. And then Moses goes up to a mountain. He gets to see it from a mountaintop, and then he passes away too.
Okay, I guess I always read that as he's saying your children, who you said this was going to happen to, are now going to be able to go into the promised land because they don't have the knowledge of good and evil. I always kind of read it like that.
No, the children don't have the knowledge of good and evil because they're ignorant, right? So he's just making a reference to their youth.
Okay, so either way, it's kind of the point that I was trying to make was that you have innocent children, children who know not the knowledge of good and evil. So you have innocent children, and when you get into something like 2 Samuel, right, where you get into no, not the genocide argument. It's
genocide.
I'm sorry, yeah. The punishment of David, where Nathan rebukes David, right? I think it's second.
Yeah, and then David's son gets taken away.
Yeah, and there's a number of other things that happen there, right? But essentially,
that's not a consequent for the son. That's a consequent for David.
I mean, I guess you could see it like that, where it's like, okay, I'm going to punish David.
It's not what I see. It's what the script literally says. It says that David will suffer and David will be punished, and God will take away his son. And then David prays at the end of it that that God is still good because he will see his son in heaven again at some point. It's not a consequent for the son. You have to remember, from the Christian paradigm, you're doing an eternal critique. Christian paradigm is our existence here on earth is just a temporary position.
Okay, so then, okay, if death isn't a consequence, then why is it?
Death can be a consequence. It's not always the
okay.
case.
Yeah, well, I just see, like, throughout the Bible, though, as I'm reading it, it's literally, it's like, you know, death is a punishment, it's a consequence. It's never looked at as predominantly a good thing to happen, right? So if life is supposed to be a gift, intrinsically, then having that taken away would be a negative thing.
Yeah, but
right?
these people, it is a negative thing. It was a consequence for David.
Yeah,
the individual person that is the child has a short period of suffering and then gets eternity with God. This is actually a blessing for the child because the child doesn't have the unbearing burden of having to freely choose the Lord because he has no knowledge of good and evil. So he actually gets a blessing. He gets to go straight to paradise. He gets to pass go, do not pay $200.
I got you. So it's kind of like a streamlined way to heaven.
Well, in this specific case, because again, David, and I have no reason to think that David is wrong here, seems to be pretty adamant that he will get to see his son again in heaven.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's one of the things that I was like, okay, he sees that if they are innocent and they do perish, and then they'll wind up in heaven. That makes sense to me. Just from a reading from the biblical viewpoint, it seems like that's the case. But okay, if I move beyond that, right? Just if you're looking at Bathsheba, right? Mm-hmm. She just lost her husband. She's pregnant now. She's going to lose her kid. Mm-hmm. It seems like she didn't really do anything wrong. David did something wrong, right?
Correct.
And now we're having her deal with this. I mean, not just that, but his whole household winds up. I mean, you literally see Nathan pronounce.
We can go further than that. The entire nation of Israel is punished and gets plagues, and hundreds of them die because of David's sin.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, and I'm trying to like figure out like how is that like because he's mad at David because David did this thing, right? He unalived someone. He committed adultery. He does these things, and these are explicitly revealed in the commandments, like thou shalt not do these things. Mm-hmm. And then what does he do though? His judgment is, well, I will now do these things to you. And it's very strange to me. And it's like, not only will I do these things to you, but I'm going to make it like 10 times worse.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, his wives, right? Now, I don't like the fact.
But here's the thing: we can go through 1,000,001 examples that you disagree with. Okay, I gave you a big one, right? David sinned against God by performing a census, right, on Israel, and because of the census, God sent a plague that killed thousands. Why should I stop worshiping Jesus?
I don't. No, I don't have a problem with like things like that. So what I'm looking at is,
you don't have a problem with things like that? So you have a problem when God takes away one person, which is David's child, but not thousands of innocent people?
No. Well, let me explain. Okay, like what I'm trying to say is, when you see a revealed character of God, a revealed will of God, right? Like through His law, through His commandments to people,
and somebody, Abby, can you go into the shorts chat and ban that films guy? You better come with some hard evidence before you make an accusation like that, my friend. That's crazy. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So like when I'm looking at stuff, like I'm seeing like the revealed will of God, right? And if you're reading scripture, it's like this is the revealed will, and you have like, I guess you could say it's a progressive revelation or however you want to say that, right? But essentially you have the law and you have these different places where He acts and He speaks, and he's letting you know what it is He likes and doesn't like, and what He commands.
My friend, you seem like a nice guy and a good interlocutor, and I know you're nervous. I'm going to need an argument now. We've been talking a lot about like ideas in the scripture and things that happen. I need an argument on how we get to the conclusion because I'm also running short on time.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I know you said you had to go here soon. I guess the basic argument would be I see logical inconsistencies between the revealed character of
Logical
God.
inconsistencies or just personal inconsistencies? Logical inconsistencies you could show mathematically to be an issue.
Well, I would say a little bit of both. I mean, if you're short on time, then I don't want to get too far into it.
This is part of the argument. So if it's a logical inconsistency, then you should be able to provide me a proposition and a negation.
Yeah. So okay. For instance, if God doesn't condone or does not like, let's say, crap, I don't know. It's so hard to speak like this with hundreds of people watching. Like I know they're watching.
It's just me and you. I don't even know how many people are watching. I can't see it.
Okay. So like if God says, for instance, like, thou shalt not commit adultery, right? And he doesn't like adultery. He's like, don't do this. And there's punishments clearly for adultery to the point of death even. But then he turns around and for his
rules for thee and not for me is not a logical inconsistency.
Okay, well, I guess I don't know what to call it then.
Well, you see,
To
you'd say
help
it's
fight
like
the tech demons, lol.
Thank you so much, appreciate you. You would say that it's like unjust and unfair, but the problem is you have to put God in the same category of humanity. So, for example, if you see a praying mantis, I was thinking about this earlier today. If you see a female praying mantis sleep with a male praying mantis and eat the head of the male praying mantis, you wouldn't say that praying mantis is evil and done something wrong because of the category they're in. But if my wife sleeps with me and eats my head, you're going to say something that pretty evil happened because we're in different categories.
So is it more of like a force doctrine thing then, that because God's all powerful and he's capable to do these things and he can rightly, justly do these things?
Well, I don't think that is the case, but it could be the case. And if that was the position, I wouldn't be wrong to hold it.
No, I mean, that would be sound. I mean, I'm not sure how you would argue the morality of it at that point, beyond just, force of will.
Sure. But still I'd be rational to hold the position. And it wouldn't stop me from, it's not the position I hold. I'm just saying I could take a force doctrine and that we have a subjective morality and that simply God's stance is what makes morality and it's divine command theory. And I'd still be more rational and reasonable to hold that position than just to hold my own.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't believe in a subjective morality. So that
would be force doctrine. Force doctrine would be like a subjective standard. The person who has the power gets to make the decision.
Yeah, that's why when you said that, that's what came to my mind. I was like, well, if you're just looking at it like, well, he's God, so he can do these things, and it's like, well, here goes your rules, but like I supersede because I'm the rule giver. Then
it's not because he's the rule giver; it's because he's a different category, right? He is the one who gets to choose when people live and when people don't live, because he's the one who gives life. We don't give life, so we don't get to make that decision. When we do that, the sin that we're doing is going against God. All sin, all moral abhorrent things is just going against God. That is the standard, right? So when I take your life, I'm doing it against God and what his desire is for you and what he's implemented. And that's what makes it wrong.
I see what you're so essentially because he's the standard and he's the one that is kind of laying out the rules and the laws and all of his stuff. And basically, he can use those standards, those laws to like show symbolically or representatively, consequences, things that are happening, like reality, I guess, to us. Is that kind of, I'm trying to understand exactly where you're coming from on that. Sorry if I'm rambling. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, we have different categories of things. Let's say, I'm just checking the time here. Let's say I walk outside, I see someone commit a crime. I grab them, I tie them up, and I throw them in my basement. Have I done something wrong?
I mean, legally, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
but I'd say ethically too. Outside of the legal system, I'd say I've done something wrong. But let's say,
it depends though, right? Like, what if they're a maniac, right? And you have to put them under house arrest till somebody comes.
Well, no, I'm talking like until I deem that they're fine and I release them from my house.
Yeah.
It'd be like something I ought not do based on our society. But then let's say a police officer does the same thing. Well, they're in a different category. They've been given a different standard, and so they can do it. So God, right, and is in a different category. He's the one who gives life, and he's also the one that takes life. And so he's the one that draws us into him. And when there's two different versions of life here too, right? There's just the life that we have, like in unison with our body, right? The ultimate goal, the ultimate purpose of God is relationship with us. And the purpose of this planet and where we exist right now is ultimately to make that decision on whether or not we want or desire a relationship with God. And so when God deems it so, or has known so that we will or will not choose, or we have no effect on other people's life or decisions, he can simply say, okay, it's time. Your judgment is here, right? Now you get to come before my judgment seat, and you accept me, and you inherit eternal life, right? A different form of life, which is being with God, for he is life and he is existence in itself. Or you've made your decision, you've hardened your heart towards him, and you've been cut off from that eternal life, and you are found dead in your sins. This is why Jesus says, I find you dead in your sins. It's not that your flesh is dead. It's that you are actually dead and you're actually gone.
Yeah. So it's like a separation. Basically, it's would you say like sin equals separation then at that point?
That is what sin is. By definition, again, and I was explaining this to somebody else earlier, all of our ethic systems come from the simple nature of God, the Father loving the Son, right? Because the Father loves the Son, that is what we are supposed to do. We're supposed to be these selfless beings. And so every time we operate against God, we're operating in a form of selfishness, where we're holding ourselves to a higher standard. The very first sin in the garden is Adam and Eve choosing to eat from the knowledge of good and evil because they wanted to be like God, right? They wanted to have their own standard. They wanted to be their own judge. And so they're separating themselves from him. And so every time we sin or we operate in a way that we shouldn't is because we are no longer unifying ourselves with the relationship that God desires, which is, again, a selfless love between us to him and him to us. That's the standard. There's this old Jewish idiom that I really like to use. Hell and heaven are the exact same place. The difference is hell is everybody trying to feed themselves with giant spoons and they can't do it. Heaven is everybody feeding each other with giant spoons. So ontologically speaking, there's no difference. The only difference is the selfishness and the selflessness of the individual.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. So, if I guess if you're looking at it like that, then what you're basically saying is you have a denial of reality versus an acceptance of reality. Like, right? It's like truth versus lies kind of thing. Like when it comes down to like that's because that makes a lot more sense when you're reading the gospel and Jesus is like, you're either for me or against me. Like there's only two types of people kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I guess I just, because my parents have been Christians like their whole life. Right. And I've kind of gone back and forth with it. And like my biggest problems are just things where it's like, I understand it. Like logically, Christianity makes sense. Like I haven't seen anything that makes more sense than Christianity. And I have a problem with certain things that I'm like, I don't have answers for this. I don't understand it. Maybe we're not supposed to. I don't know. It's just like some of the moral
my camera's about to die. I'm still here. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. But I just like, am I making sense? Like some of the moral qualms, it's just like how, like why is it like this? Like why this decision, God? Why is this something that you did? And it's like there's points where it's like, okay, I look at Jesus and I'm like, I want to believe it. I really do. I want to trust him. And I want to, be there. And then at the other point, I'm like, I don't know if I can trust you because I look at this, and this, and I'm like, how, if you're supposed to be an example of the Father to me, and I see the Father doing these things, like, and I know you're the same person according to this doctrine. It's like how, like, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, you're making sense. Gabe, can I use your story? I don't know if you're listening. My camera might die again because it's overheating. I just need the confirmation from Gabe. I think he's here. And then, unfortunately, man, I'm sad because this is actually a really good point to have a conversation. Okay, I was talking. I have a friend. He's in a wheelchair. I forget the disease, but he has a disease which makes it difficult to walk. There's a whole bunch of ailments that fall upon him. And I was talking to him about this specific thing, right? I was like, hey, are you mad at God for this? Do you question him? Do you have? And his answer was always like no. And I was like, okay, why? And he said something to me that was like very like deep. It's like, I'm like, well, he could heal you, but he doesn't. And his response to me was, well, he's going to heal me eventually. And there's a big faith and trust. This is what my position is. It's like the defeater argument. There are certain explanations and understandings that we don't necessarily know. When I read the scripture, I don't like the fact that God unalived somebody for picking up sticks. That doesn't feel right and sit right with me. But there is a promise, and this is where the faith comes in. There's a promise that all evil, all unnecessary conditions, all things that we have to endure will all be defeated, and it will all be taken away, and everything will be made right if you just simply do one thing and trust that he will do it. That's it. That's the gospel, right? Trust in him, trust that he will do it, trust he will defeat it, and he will. And then you just have to be patient. It may not be today that you're healed. It may not be today that you understand, but the day will come. And that's the point, right? There's this thing called what's the wager? Pascal's wager. A lot of people take Pascal's wager to say, hey, bet on Christianity so you don't go to hell. That's not the case. Pascal's wager is for somebody who is like on the edge. They're like, I don't know about this. I'm concerned about this, but it seems right. It seems true. Somebody like you. Pascal's wager says, well, do what Christ commanded you to do. Live by Matthew 6. Attend church. Participate in the sacraments. Involve yourself with that, and then watch how your life changes and watch how God interacts. You have nothing to lose.
Thank you, man. Sorry, a little bit emotional because it's funny that I can't believe that you brought that up because literally I had a really bad back injury about 10 years ago, and I've been through a living hell since then. And that's been one of the things, and it's been a problem. Shit. I just can't believe it. Yeah, I've just been really struggling, So
I know we're live, and I know you're nervous, and I know you're emotional, so I won't force you to sit here. So I'll say this, man. We have a Discord. Join our Discord. We have some great guys. The Gabe guy that I was talking about, he's in there. You could talk to him, and you're more than welcome to come back up again, and we can have a conversation. And I'm glad that this is hitting you, and I'll pray for you, man, and I'll pray for your journey and see how it goes.
Thank you.
No problem. Listen, man, this is going to feel dirty to ask you, and forgive me. Conversations like this are so rare on my channel. If I decided to use it as content, would you be okay with that? If not, I won't.
No, it's fine. Yeah. I like your channel, man. I think you're great. You're one of the few channels I actually watch almost daily. So
thanks, man. Yeah. Thank you. I'll pray for you, man. Good luck on your journey. I'll let you go. And when you think about what I've said, you can come up and we could talk about it again.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless, man. Y'all pray for John. Pray for John. We'll do a quick prayer for him now, actually, and then we're going to head out. Our Father is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our sins as we forgive those who sins against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lord, you are good in all that you do. I ask that you walk with John, and you're present with him, and you draw him into the knowledge of who you are and into your kingdom. You are good. We are not. We simply plant the seeds, but it's you that waters it, and it's you that harvests it. So, Lord, we ask you humbly, even from sinners, from broken people, from people who do not deserve to have our prayers answered, we ask that you do this. For it says that we are unworthy, but if you enter into our house and you simply give the word, we can be healed. I ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. All right, folks, you know what to do. Go follow me on platforms. I got to go. Goodbye. I love you.